Welcome, everybody, to the X Factor podcast. Today, we got a great episode coming right for you. We're going to be talking about week 4 of the NCAA college football season of the 2023 season. We have a couple, I'm just going to talk about a couple matches, and I'll talk about my, upcomers for Heisman, and my weekly awards, of course, will come on the Twitter, XFactorSportss, with 2 S's at the end. You guys already know. If you guys got like any other content of sports, wrestling, or football wrestling, you know where to find me. X Factor Podcast, X Factor Sports on Twitter, and then X Factor Sports 420 on TikTok. So we got a great. We're gonna start off with the first game that I was watching over the weekend: Florida versus Clemson. I'm gonna talk about Florida, and I'm gonna talk about Clemson, and I'll give my overall thoughts about the whole game. Florida, I thought they had a very good game when it came to creating pressure and getting Klubnik to kind of like move around. I feel like there's spots of the game where he was feeling very uncomfortable. I feel like there were spots where where they were legit getting him pretty good. I know there was a spot in the middle of the game where around third quarter where he threw a pass and got hit very hard. I have it in my notes somewhere. I will read about it again. And it was just when it came to creating pressure, I feel like Florida State had a very good run-in with them. Jordan Travis, I feel like he was another good part of the offense over the week during that game. He was, he was also getting hit quite a few times, and I still feel like that he was getting, like, I feel like over the game progressed, I feel like he was getting better and better and better. Like the start of the game, I feel like he wasn't really doing much, but I feel like after like halftime, he started getting slowly there, and then we obviously seen what happened in overtime, and then right after halftime, he threw a 45-yard pass, like legit right like first play after halftime, to Wilson. So another thing, looking at the cons of the whole thing, they were not running the ball well. They looked very lost when it came to running the ball. Their best rusher was Trey Benson, 7 for 25, 3.6 yards per carry with a long of 12. And they just couldn't really do much. And that receiver I was talking about that caught that 45-yard touchdown was Johnny Wilson. He had 5 catches for 94, 18 average, and a long of 41. Which the long was 41, but it was like 45 when it came to the end. Like the pass was like, that ain't adding up. It was 41. I looked at it wrong. My bad. It was a 41-yard pass. That was his longest of the game. And then Jordan Travis, I feel like he also did very good. He was 20 for 36, 55 completion rating, which is not the best. 265, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions to a 95.6 QBR. Also, the O-line looked very lost. Clemson did quite a few. They blitzed a lot during that game, and I feel like when it came to that blitz, they were lost. Like, they were just complete lost. And Jeremiah Byers Jr., 63, right tackle, he couldn't get nothing going either. I feel like he was very slow when it came. Like, those edge rushers were legit killing him almost every play. And, they were beating him off the edge, like, quickly. I don't know if it's just him being, not as quick as them or what, but he was not having a very good game at all. And the weird thing is, they lost to... They're around 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter on a third down. They lost to a 3-man rush. There was only 3 men rushing, and they still got a sack. So that should just tell you how bad the offensive line played for Florida State in that game. And then, overtime hit. They had a pretty alright, kind of overtime hit, and then, we obviously see what happened. But Klubnik, Klubnik took a beating from Jerry Jones, defensive back, senior, on a pass to Jake Ringstone Jr. with 4:34 left in the third. That was the pass I was talking about where Klubnik took a big hit, and he legit took a big hit, like his hip. Like I'm surprised he didn't like break a hip or something. It was awful. Phil Mufafa, I think that's how you say his name. He had a 56-yard run I think it was around the third quarter. It was like the legit like one of the plays before the fumble touchdown. It was a 56-yard run for the junior running back. O-line missed a blitz and took a hit from Kalen DeRoche, linebacker, senior, number 4, with 43 seconds left in the third. Took a big hit right there at the end of the third. The O-line couldn't really notice the blitz because where he was lined up. And that's where they ended up with the touchdowns because he was like lined up like way off. Like it looked like he was ready to cover like one of the receivers, but he came up and blitzed him and got the fumble and scored the touchdown, tying it into 24-24. Start of the fourth, like the first play of the fourth, Renardo Green nailed Will Shipley. Will Shipley, I thought he had a very alright game, nothing really special. He had his little moments though. Before but the end of the game, they were talking about the Clemson kicker, who they were telling about his story about how he left. Now he's back on the team and all that, and then he missed the kick, a 30-yard kick, which was very awful. Right after that, Johnny Wilson caught a massive catch. It was like 15 yards, I believe. It was a very good catch by him. And then in overtime, Keon Coolman with a great touchdown in overtime. Clemson did not score after that. Klubnik did not do very well when it came to the overtime aspect of things. Clemson, they were pressuring really good. The blitz was really good. Barrett Carter, the number 0 for the defense, he had a very good game. I feel like he was all over the field. There was also a play where he blitzed. He was right on Jordan Travis too. So, he's a very good player to look after. The cons of the game, the mistakes in the fourth quarter really got him, and the kicker at the end, they had a chance to win and did not win the game. Klubnik was 24 for 35, 66% completion rating, 283, a touchdown, 0 interceptions, and a 110.9 QBR. Phil Maffa, my bad. 10 carries, 69 yards, 6 per carry with a long of 46. I thought it was 56, my bad. It was a 46-yard run. Will Shipley with 16, 45, 2.8, 16 long, and a touchdown. And Jake Brinkstone and Tyler Brown were the better receivers for their game, with Tyler Brown had 5 receptions, 84 yards, with average 16.8 with a long of 28. And then Jake Brinkstone, he had 3 receptions for 47 yards and 33 long. One thing I noticed from this game, Florida, they went down 1 ranking. They had a very close game against Boston College last week. Then they had a very close game against Clemson. Clemson's an alright team. Boston College, I think they're ranked 4 or 5 right now. Or 5 or 6 around that range. I don't know if they should be even ranked in the top 10. They're very. I feel like there's a couple other teams that are very good that could be ahead of them, like Oregon. But we're going to see how they go with that in the upcoming weeks. But overall, the game I thought was a very, very good game, especially in the fourth and overtime. Ooh, bless my heart. Okay, Notre Dame, Ohio State. We're going to talk about this here. I feel like defenses both played good. I think this is a big test for Kyle McCord. I have not been a very high on Kyle McCord since the start of the season. I feel like he's a big lowdown from what they had last year with C.J. Stroud. He had an alright game, 20 for 33, 239, 60%, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. That was for Indiana in week 1. Because I was trying to compare from what they, I looked at their both games, all games that they've played this season, and I looked at two of the tougher teams that they played. They played Indiana in week 1. They won, but he had 20 for 33, 239 yards, 60% completion rate, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. That was against Indiana. This week, he had 21 for 37, 249, 56, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and QBR 89% to 74. Very questions on whether McCord can be their main guy down the road, especially when they have to play against Michigan, and when it comes to the playoffs, you got to play Georgia, and all that. So I don't know if he could be the main guy just yet. I still need to see some poise out of him. Otherwise, he's just an for me. Travion Henderson, he's probably one of the better running backs in college football. Had 14 carries, 104 yards, 1 touchdown, 7 yards per carry. Emeka Ibuka had 7 for 96. Marvin Harrison didn't do much with a 332 game along with 19. Sam Hartman, another big test for him. They've played some very weak teams. He came in with a 17 for 25, 175, a touchdown, and an interception. 68 percentage completion rating with a QBR of 108. Michael Evans had a Michelle Evans or whatever, had a 7 for 75. He had a very alright game too. And then the whole game, it was just a very defensive game. And the last 2 plays, Ohio State went down to the 1-yard line, and the last 2 plays, Notre Dame had 10 players on the field, and I didn't really notice that until after the game. And Marcus Freeman knew that they had 10 players, but they did not have any timeouts, and they want to risk a penalty. So you can't really blame him for not wanting to go and get that, try to bring someone out. But you also got to realize that one defensive lineman that they ran at, if they would have had that there, they probably would have won the game. So it's a very big mistake out of them, but otherwise it was just a very ugly loss for them. And then Ryan Day, after the comments on Lou Holtz said that they were a tougher team and they were a better team, and then Ryan Day goes on to say it's Ohio against the world, and his guys are tough. And I see people going after Lou Holtz for this one, but if I'm being honest with you, I gotta agree with him. I gotta agree with the fucking 90-year-old, how old Lou Holtz is. I gotta agree with him. When it came to the big games, Ohio State was not the tougher team. They got manhandled by Michigan last year. Yes, they had a very close game against Georgia, and they almost beat them, but guess what? They didn't beat them. The last 2 years against Michigan, they have got railed over by dogs. I feel like it's going to be the same thing this year when they play Michigan later on in the season. This game, they were playing very tough. I feel like it was just a very... it was kind of like to prove themselves that they are one of the tougher teams in the NCAA, or in the Big Ten as well. But people want to go out Lou Holtz, but I think he was right for what he said, because I honestly agree with him. There's games where they're not that tough. And people said they call him something. He's called them not tough, which is probably the same thing, but it's just a lighter way of saying that you're not them, pretty much. But to me, that's just really what I think about that. Alright, now, I know this game was a very blown out game, but I'm an Iowa fan, so of course I have to talk about it. First off, I thought Penn State they did everything well. They did everything they could to save the game, or pretty much to keep them in the game. I'm just going to say this right now. Iowa's offense is awful. I think we all knew that. They legit had 76 yards of offense, and they had 360 punch yards. A bad day for Iowa's offense. Eric All, I feel like he had to replace Luke Lachey. I feel like he had a very he had a good, all right game, but he fumbled, so it kind of takes away, the moment where they could have at least had a touchdown, you know, in the game at that one of those points of the game. To me, it's just this Iowa offense is awful. They need to fire Brian Ferentz. And if you say it's not Brian Ferentz's fault, you're an idiot. I've been watching this Iowa team. I've been watching Brian Ferentz, and the offense every year it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And Cade is not even a bad quarterback, and the fact that he's playing like this is very sad. He was 5 for 14, 42 yards, and they took him out at near third quarter. Very bad game. And Penn State did everything well. Just the defense had to carry Iowa because Iowa offense couldn't do nothing. So, very bad day for the Iowa team. I'm gonna talk about Alabama, and then I'm gonna talk about Colorado versus Oregon. Alabama versus Ole Miss. Alabama started very slow in the first half, but got into the second half. I'm still worried though about the team because of the QB situation. Jalen Milroe is the right starter, but I don't know if he has what it takes to beat teams like Texas A&M, Tennessee, LSU. They also play Kentucky later in the year, which I think they'll win. But I still think it's a concern because based off how he played against Texas, he got played Texas A&M, Tennessee, LSU. Those are three games down the road that they need to play, and they lost to Texas A&M a couple years ago. But still, it's a very big concern to me about the quarterback situation. Jalen Milroe did not have an awful game, but it was an game. He completed 81% of his throws, threw for 225, a touchdown, and a 1 interception. That was very bad interception. After the 100-yard plus game from Roydell Williams last week, I thought that he would go off, but only had 25 yards on 9 carries, 2.5 yards with a long of 6, and all that. Chase McClellan had 16 carries for 101. He had 6.3 yards per carry and 1 touchdown with a long of 22. Dallas Turner, though, had a very good game. 4 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. Ole Miss, they just couldn't really get it going in the first half and then pretty much did nothing after. They need to get better in the running game because their best rusher was Quinton Jukins with 13 carries, 56 yards. Other than that, it was Jackson Dart with 6 yards. Jackson Dart did not have his best game with a 20, 35, 244, 56% of his thrown, 57% of his completion throws to a 0-1 interception game. Defense-wise, I thought they were there. The offense just couldn't score. But Alabama, I feel like, is still a very big concern when it comes to, are they still one of the better teams in college football? I feel like this year they were not the best. To me, I think Alabama this year just needs to lay it off just for this year and then come back next year, pretty much, kind of. Did Colorado get so hyped that it cost them the game? That's the question. I think did the hype for Colorado cost them their game on Saturday? You've seen how hyped this team was. You see how much the media hypes him with Deion Sanders. I feel like Deion Sanders does everything right as a head coach, though. Nothing against him, but the hype was definitely there. There was a video thing that Oregon posted the other day about how much trash Colorado was talking. It was like they were coming in about ready to take everything from them, and then get squashed like that is very embarrassing. To talk all that trash just for them to lose 42-6. I'm gonna talk about Colorado, and I'm gonna talk about Oregon here right now. Shedeur Sanders, he had a very bad game. 24 for 34, 160 and a touchdown. He had the touchdowns at the end of the game. Xavier Weaver, of course, doing his thing with 9 catches, 71 yards. Running game was not there. Defense could not tackle. O-line could not block for their life. Main thing is, can Colorado jump back? That is in question. I am going to look up to see what the rest of their schedule looks like. Hang on just a second here. I'm looking up their schedule. That's baseball. Okay. Okay, they play USC next week. Sorry for the hold up. They play USC next week. They're gonna lose. And people saying, first off, people that are saying that Travis Hunter would help them win the game. No, you cannot. One player can't prevent 42 points scoring on you. I'm sorry. They're gonna lose to USC next week. I think they beat Arizona State. I feel like they beat Stanford. I think they'll lose to UCLA probably. Probably lose to Oregon State. And Arizona, they probably will get a win there. But they are 3-1, so it's a very concerning to see what's going to happen now. So can Colorado jump back? It's questioned. Their defense can't freaking tackle. Their offensive line's awful. And you don't really expect them to be like a number 1 top team in 1 year. Which I feel like that's what everyone expected them to be in 1 year. It's like, come on now. They were 1-11 last year. They brought in all these transfers. They're not going to be good just like that in 1 year. But I will get to that when I talk about the Heisman. When I talk about the Heisman finalist, in my opinion, Oregon, Bo Nix. I've been watching Bo Nix. I started watching more college football around 2019, 2020, around there. 2021, around that time, and I remember watching Bo Nix. I was in a hospital room, and I seen an Auburn game. Bo Nix, I thought when I first seen him, I loved him. I loved watching him play. And then he did not get well going after it, and I feel like Oregon has been his rise up, or this is where his potential could potentially be, his full potential being with Oregon, because now he went from probably not even going to get drafted in the draft to Heisman finalist and being one of the top quarterbacks coming up in one of these drafts in the next couple of years. Oregon's defense did amazing when it came to stopping Shedeur Sanders in the running game. I feel like the tackling was really well. The offensive line for Oregon I thought was pretty good too. And you could tell that this was a personal game for them based off how Colorado was acting. But Oregon, I still think they're one of the best teams in the college football. All right, Heisman watch, in my opinion. All right, we're going to be talking about this. My number 1 guy to look forward to, of course, Caleb Williams, 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 74% completion rating. I still need him to I still need him to play against some of these bigger teams to find out if he can really go. You've seen how he played last year and this year, and when it came to the bigger games, they did not, they struggled just a little bit, but they still almost won the games. Caleb Williams, I think he's still a fine, great quarterback. I just need to see him against some of these bigger teams to see what he could really do. Michael Penix Jr., he is around there with Caleb Williams in my eyes. Washington State quarterback. Like I said with Caleb Williams, I still think that they're both very talented to see how they do in the big games. He has 1,600 yards passing, 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 74% passer rating. That's very good for Michael Penix Jr. And I seen him in Indiana, and I loved him watching him in Indiana. All right, Bo Nix, I have him around third. He has 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, 79 completion rating with 1,100 yards. I still think Bo Nix, if he never went to Oregon, his potential would not, he wouldn't even be noticed. I feel like, he was not his best in Auburn, but had flashes, and, he's still showing his real potential in his second best season in college at Oregon. And then my last guy I'm looking at is Shedeur Sanders. Even though after this loss, I feel like if Sanders was not there, they would be 0-4 right now. The team might be overhyped, but Shedeur Sanders, I've been telling you, he is the real deal. And I bet you when he gets to the draft, the teams will be tanking just for him. Like, just for him. I feel like if they get him a good team around him, like a good squad. I know they have, Xavier Weaver and they got Travis Hunter, which are very good players. But we need a better offensive line, they need a better defense, and then they can show who we can really beat. That's all I got for you today. Let me know down below what games next week you want me to look at. What games I should be watching all of them, but there's just so many games. That's so much you got to look forward to. Because I got NFL, I got college football, wrestling's every day of the week. I got a lot of stuff I got to look after. I will try my best to get as many games, and I'm only gonna look at the games that were very high, like hyped going into the game. But if there was a game that was really close that that should be looked at, I will also look at that. I'm gonna be doing more of these games starting next week. Like I said, if you want to see the awards for the week, I'm still trying to decide my defensive player of the week, my offensive player of the week. I already got set for that. But if you want to see who my defensive player of the week for college football, that'll be coming up here just in about a little bit. I'm still thinking. Let me know down below what you think of the video, hot takes, anything. It's either comment down below or the Twitter. Look in the bio. I have it right there in my bio or my description in the videos. This description always has more stuff that I probably wasn't thinking at time of the video that I will probably put in the description. So always make sure to look at the description. Make sure to look at all that. See if any news, anything. Like I said, hot takes, thoughts in the video. Comment down below. Follow the Twitter XFactorSportss. Subscribe to the channel. Follow the TikTok. Let's keep growing and let's make the world a better place for the sports community. All have a great day.